Community connections, CKMS, local sounds, thoughts, passions, and success. Celebrate local, your neighbor's got a story to tell. Community connections, CKMS.
Happy Friday, Waterloo Region. You're listening to CKMS Community Connections on CKMS FM Radio Waterloo 102.7 FM. My name is Bob Jonkman. This is the episode for Friday, October the 24th. In the studio with me is Ray Angod from the Protect the Huron Natural Area. A mouthful, but we'll figure that all out when we talk to Ray in just a few minutes. We're going to listen to a bit of music right now. This is the Saskatoons with an appropriate tune called Runaway Greenhouse Effect. Let that be a warning to all of you. That is what a runaway greenhouse effect sounds like. That's the Saskatoons, local band with Tony Salomon from their new Venus album. In the studio with me is Ray Angod. Ray, welcome to CKMS Community Connections.
Yeah, thank you, Bob.
You're with an organization that I have down as Protect the Land Surrounding Huron Natural Area.
Yeah, it's a mouthful, but that captures us, yeah.
Okay. What is it about the natural area, the Huron Natural Area, that needs protecting?
So the Huron Natural Area, the lands around it are basically being chopped up and sold off to developers. So what was once a very broad range of land that was the Huron Natural Area, little by little developers have been, the city's been selling to developers, and there's proposed development plans. The one that we're most concerned about now is a proposed industrial development just to the east of the Huron Natural Area. That's going to be 40 acres, which is currently meadow and wooded lands. It's going to be removed and replaced with industrial space.
Where is the Huron Natural Area?
Yeah, so it's in Ward 5 of Kitchener. So you can call that, I guess, South Kitchener, near Huron and Strasbourg intersection would be the closest main intersection.
Okay, south end of Kitchener.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've been there. I think I've been on a bike through parts of that.
It has great trails. If you're walking or biking or walking a dog, it's not just a Ward 5 thing or a South Kitchener thing. It's something that the whole city and the region of Waterloo enjoys.
So it's not the natural area itself that's being threatened with development.
Well, yes and no. I mean, you're right. No, it's not. They're not developing on the Huron Natural Area. That would be nearly impossible, thankfully. But the surrounding areas, where we're having this industrial space abutting right adjacent to the Huron Natural Area on the wetland there, just like 20 meters between the wetland and now this industrial space and all that natural area that was kind of like a buffer. Like when you're walking the trails, you see trees and everything around. You know, that's potentially going away with this proposed development.
Okay. And this is industrial lands, not residential areas.
That's correct, yeah. They zone it as light industrial. So it could be
Which means what?
could be warehousing. It could be let's see, like maybe some light manufacturing as well.
Okay.
Nothing like big smokestacks and smog pumping out, but it's still an industrial space that it's getting rid of the natural part of it and just putting in buildings, warehouses, things like that.
Okay. If it was residential, I'd be all pleased. I'd love to live out there.
Yeah, I bet. It's still, you're still getting rid of the wildlife and the diversity. There's a lot of diversity that the surveyors found out there, some rare species, some threatened species. We all know about the snapping turtle, for example.
Mm-hmm.
There's evidence of snapping turtle there. There's a number of like locally, regionally significant wildlife, birds as well. It's also, they found that it was a coyote habitat as well.
Okay.
And that's why that's a little bit relevant to us, for all of us, not just people in Ward 5 or Ward 4 or wherever, is what happens when you remove a coyote habitat? What happens when you remove their food sources? Where do they go?
Yeah.
Are they going to cross the street to the high school? Are they going to go into people's backyards? Are they going to cross streets and get hit by cars? A lot of unanswered questions there.
Yeah. Some people may say that it is beneficial to get rid of the coyotes.
You'd think so, and you hear that a lot, right? But would you rather have the coyotes in their habitat far away from you, or would you rather have them in your backyard?
Yeah.
And coyotes are part of the ecosystem. They get rid of rodents, right? Mice, rats. There are not many land predators, if you think about it, in Kitchener that will hunt and predate on mice and rats.
Right. And so if the coyotes go away, you get overrun by mice, rats, rabbits.
And maybe the coyotes themselves. You look at like Oakville and Burlington, they're having big problems with coyotes. People getting attacked by coyotes, walking your dog on the street.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's rather big news in the Oakville, Burlington area.
Okay. I didn't realize that. I've heard stories, but it's like the kitten in the microwave. I didn't think those were real.
Oh, yeah. Like Burlington, I saw a map recently. They had a map of 7 attacks on humans in Burlington itself, right? Like this is not just sneaking into backyards and eating your pet dog, which is still, tragedy in itself, but it's actually humans walking their dogs that are getting attacked because they're walking what the coyotes see as a food source. And it's not the coyotes' fault. You take away their habitat and their food sources. Realistically, what do you expect them to do?
Right. So this is one of the reasons to preserve the natural habitat in the Huron Natural Area.
It's definitely one of the reasons, yeah. In addition to coyotes, it's a very large turtle habitat as well. I mentioned the snapping turtle. The most prominent is something called the Midland painted turtle, where it's a smaller turtle, and the surveyors found that there were, I think, 96 depredated nests, turtle nests. Depredated means a predator had gotten to the nest and eaten some of the eggs. And that's
That could be the coyotes.
It could be the coyotes, you're right. It could be the raccoons, it could be anything, right? So, but yeah, the coyote is definitely one of those predators. What's interesting, though, about when you look at the environmental impact study is the authors of that study. They pointed that number and said, 96 depredated turtle nests. That means that all the turtle nests are depredated. But the thing is, you can't count undisturbed turtle nests because they're buried and you can't see them. So when the surveys go out there, they're not looking for the buried hidden turtle nests. They're only counting the depredated ones.
The ones that they found.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you can't find a buried turtle nest. So when they say that, and so the conclusion that the authors came to was that, well, we found 96 depredated turtle nests, and that's all that we found, therefore all the nests are depredated. But it doesn't work that way. And then they use that as a rationale, well, this is an ecological sink for turtles, so we should develop here because it's not viable turtle nesting land based on how they interpreted the data.
Right. Not realizing that there are all these viable turtle nests that weren't discovered.
That's what they ignored in the study, yes.
Yeah. And there must be other wildlife out there as well, not just turtles.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the main draws for anyone to go to the Huron Natural Area is just the diversity of wildlife you'll see there. Last time I went and just saw like a fully grown woodpecker, for example, doing its thing. Blue heron, all kinds of birds. I think the surveyors found almost 70 different species of birds just in the subject land which is adjacent to the Huron Natural Area. So every time you go there, you're going to see something different.
Right. And there's all the sound too.
The sounds.
of the birds.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the woodpeckers.
Yeah.
I haven't been there often,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that in the natural areas around where I live, it's just full of natural sounds.
It is. Yeah, they've done a wonderful job of maintaining the natural wetlands there. So you see all that richness of biodiversity there. And it's not just for locals. I mean, people from outside of town, when they come to Kitchener, that's a place that they go. When my sister came from Montreal, for example, it was a beautiful day. Where do we go? Huron Natural Area.
Right.
And we spent the day there. It was memorable. Yeah, so it's not just a local wonder. I think it's called one of the 7 wonders of Kitchener. It was dubbed, yeah.
Okay.
And there's a good reason for that.
Right. Because it's beautiful.
Yeah.
How long has these development plans, how long have they been in the works?
That's a good question. So the land was sold, I believe it was 2018 or 2019, and it was 40 acres that was sold to the developer. The cost of those 40 acres was about $4 million. So if you think about that, that's $100,000 per acre, which is a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
So the developer bought that back in 2018, 2019.
And bought it from where? From
the city itself.
From the city itself.
The city used to own that land, and then it was sold to a developer. There was a bid tender, so different developers bid on the land, and one of them won, and now they own the land. So I think there was some red tape that the developer had to go through with the environmental impact study, for example. And now that they've kind of jumped through their hoops, they published their environmental impact study. It's being taken to council now to approve of this proposed development plan.
Right. Before it was bought by the developer, the city of Kitchener owned it, what was the land zoned as?
That's even more interesting.
Oh.
Back in like 1989, it was slated to be a hog slaughtering facility by a major meat producer. And construction had started there, like they started to prepare the land for this large factory. But something fell through, and the company backed out and actually moved operations. They built operations in Hamilton instead of Kitchener. And at the time, that was a big deal for the city of Kitchener, losing a large company like that.
This is 40 years ago.
Yeah, 1889. Yeah, but 30-something years ago, right? Yeah. So the land was disturbed, right? The layer of topsoil there. Some of it has been
they had started construction.
They not like construction, but preparing the land. They've modified the land. It's been disturbed. Is the word that they used.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which means that a lot of the wildlife that was adjacent to the Huron Natural Area had already been extirpated. They've been removed from that area.
They had been at first, but it's revegetated over the past 30 years.
Okay.
Right. So you actually see like large trees, or some of it it's like more meadow. And some of it is more like the larger trees that you can see from the road. If you drive past on Strasbourg, it's just forest there at this point. Yeah,
and that's just because nobody's done anything to remove the natural process of whatever environment does.
That's right. And accidentally, what they did to the land was they made it actually a really good turtle habitat because the soil is loose, and it's a really suitable place for nesting for turtles, and even another rare bird called the grasshopper sparrow. They thrive in kind of meadow conditions, living in grasslands. So this is an area here that trees are not really going to grow anytime soon because the topsoil layer is stripped. So it's just this vacant grassland where they thrive. And for like a rare bird like that, that land is really important for them. And under these plans, there's no mitigative measures for them. Just good luck.
It seems odd that areas so close to natural lands would be zoned as industrial, light industrial, hog slaughtering farms. That just doesn't seem to fit with the nature of the area.
You're right. Yeah, there was a plan to actually expand the Huron Natural Area, not to shrink it. Was the original plan back in the 90s, I believe.
To move into that area that was...
Yeah, right. So the Huron Natural Area, the way it is now, there was a vision to expand it and grow it and make it something really, really special for the city of Kitchener. That hasn't happened. We've gone the opposite route, where to the east, to the south, to the west, little like plots of land are being sold and being developed on.
Yeah. How does that happen? I mean, where do those changes come from?
I don't have visibility into that. Probably another member of my team could to speak to the zoning. Zoning is not my strong suit, but there are, like the way zoning happens, I don't have visibility into that. But that's a really good question. We've actually started asking questions to the city about that. Haven't gotten answers yet, but that's one of the lines that we are investigating.
Right. Yes, it seems that is it maybe just the way that council changes from election to election? Over the course of time, the council becomes more development interested, and that may swing back to being more environmentally concerned.
It could swing, right? I mean, that's the power of the voters, right? But yeah, we've seen a lot of decisions by the current leadership that support development. One that I was involved in last year was the Bean Drive extension, where they approved a road extension through a provincially significant wetland, which we had concerns about. So yeah, I mean, there is a push for development, and I understand there's provincial pressures as well. But I mean, I don't want to come across as being anti-development. It needs to be development that makes sense, that's in the best interest of the city. And in this particular case, adding more industrial space doesn't make sense. And the reason is that the vacancy rates for industrial space right now, they're really high.
Yes.
It's about 7.5% vacancy rates for industrial space, the second largest in southwestern Ontario. And in real terms, it's 1.4 million square feet of empty space.
Right.
If you think about Conestoga Mall, it's twice that amount just in the city of Kitchener, in just empty warehouses, offices, for example. So how do you reconcile all that vacancy with also the push, we need to build more industrial space? The two don't match.
Yeah. I'm seeing some industrial lands being advocated up in Elmira as well, the north end of Waterloo region.
Oh, yeah.
And again, there's lots of industrial space already, light industrial, garages and things like that. So I'm just curious where this push would be coming from. And like you say, you don't have the insight into the zoning minds of people, but it would just be an interesting avenue to explore.
It definitely is. Where is this push coming from? We don't know. Maybe it made sense back in 2018, 2019 when the land was sold, maybe, when we were, I think, experienced a bit of a growth boom in Kitchener. And then, and shortly after COVID, when I think a lot of people from like the GTA and Toronto moved to Kitchener when they were working remotely. But I think that boom has passed. So we're seeing a lot more vacancies in industrial spaces, and there's more going vacant than there are being like rented, right? So it's going the wrong way. It's trending the wrong way.
There's a lot of vacancy in the commercial office retail space as well.
I believe you.
Largely because of COVID too.
Yeah.
So would it make sense to rezone some of those commercial office retail spaces into that light industrial that they seem to be so fond of?
It's possible, but I think the simplest solution is just use what's already there. I mean, you already have all these empty office spaces, and there's no, I hate to say it, but it doesn't seem like there's much demand for this industrial space. Like a huge one at Homer Watson and Bleems, for example, this huge light industrial space. It's been it was open for the past almost 2 years, I want to say. Almost 2 years, and it's still like half available for lease, right? So it doesn't seem like the demand is there. So until we get to the point where the vacancy rates get lower, like personally, I don't see the business case, like why we got to build more industrial land that nobody's asking for.
Right. Where does it sit now? What's the current state of affairs for this area surrounding the Huron Natural Area?
So the current state, so it's going to the Strategic Planning Committee this coming Monday, where they will do, I guess, a preliminary vote before it goes to council. So this Monday, we're going to be running a number of delegations to the councillors there, raising a lot of the concerns I've talked about already, about threats to wildlife, the absence of demand for industrial space, and why do we need this? Who's asking for this? So we're raising a number of important concerns to the Strategic Planning Committee. If they vote to move it forward to vote for council, that will happen later in November. And again, our plan is to delegate and raise points for that. But we want to raise enough doubt in council's mind that is this really a good idea? Maybe this made sense in 2018, 2019, but in 2025, 2026, is this really what's best for our city? Is this really what our constituents want and will benefit from?
Right. Other than delegating, what are you doing about it?
Yep, so we do have our petition online. We are almost at 4,000 signatures now. It's really gaining steam.
This is the change.org petition?
Thank you. Yeah, it is change.org. Yes, to protect Huron Natural Area. So yeah, it's been kind of snowballing recently. We were at 3,000, then I blinked and we're almost at 4,000 now. Just through word of mouth and through really passionate grassroots movement of getting the word out there. It's picking up steam. We encourage anyone that's really interested to join us at the planning committee on Monday at City Hall. That is, I believe, at 5:30 it starts. I got to double check my times, but after work. And if you're really passionate, delegate. Submit your request to delegate and speak from the heart. Even if you don't have a business case or you don't have knowledge of the background of all this, it's more like, what does it mean to you, and why is it so special to you? Why should we preserve it the way it is?
Setting up for a delegation requires some advance notice.
Yeah, so you need to probably let them know today.
Yes.
So there is a very easy way. If you just search on Google City of Kitchener delegation, it'll take you to like how to delegate, and it's just an online form. You put in your name and your topic, it's a pretty seamless process if you're interested.
Yeah. And while we're at it, that change.org petition is change.org/p/stop-the-development-surrounding-the Huron Natural Area in Kitchener. Dash is between all the words.
That is.
I'll definitely have a link to that on our show notes at
Thank you.
radiowaterloo.ca/ccc. So we'll be able to just click on the link there and get to this. It's also easily searchable. I found it pretty easily with the search.
Glad to hear.
Yeah. And I see you've got some other social media on Instagram as well.
Yes. Yeah.
With
Facebook
a
page as well.
Number of posters
Yep.
that show some of the natural wildlife that
Yes.
is at risk here,
Yes.
and some information as well. And there's a Facebook page too.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, we have something called a link tree in the petition there, and that it's links to various resources, articles that have been published on the topic as well. So there's no shortage of resources if you're interested in the topic.
Okay. I'll have links to those in the show notes too.
Well, thank you so much, Bob.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So, how can people get involved? What can they do to make this happen? Sign the petition, obviously.
Yeah, sign the petition and contact your counselor is a big one, right? I mean, the counselor of Ward 5 is Councillor Owoduni. You could contact him about why this area is special for you, and you can contact your own counselor as well. That as a constituent, you're concerned about what's happening to the Huron Natural Area, because once it's gone, right? Once it's paved over, it's gone for our generation, the next generation. So I do encourage people to speak up. I mean, municipal politics is what really impacts us day to day. I know we get maybe caught up in the headlines with the federal and the provincial, but really decisions made just right here in our city council, that's what affects our life.
Right. We're going to talk about this some more.
Yeah.
I'm going to return to another track by the Saskatoons. This is Arachnoids and Pancake Domes from the Venus album.
It was 2 years ago, in 1998, that the first manned spaceship left Earth for the planet Venus. This attempt ended in tragedy. A meteor hit the ship.
the Saskatoons, Tony Salamone. That was arachnoids and pancake domes, a prominent natural feature on the planet Venus. Saskatoons are going through the solar system, starting at Mercury and working their way out to, I guess, the outer minor planets. And I guess we'll hear more music from them in the future. In the studio with me is Ray Angod, who is concerned about the Huron Natural Area and protecting the area surrounding it, because that's slated for development.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
You've got a petition that's on the go, change.org.
Yes.
Which people can sign to indicate their protest for developing the area surrounding that.
Yes.
What would you like to see in the area surrounding the natural areas, the Huron Natural Area?
Just leave it as is a simple answer. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the way it is now. There's no real, like, who's asking for this development, I think is a fair question. How is this going to benefit our city? How is this going to benefit the region? I know it always comes, like, the counterpoint to that often is jobs and employment. If we build more industrial space, then there will be more jobs for people. It's not that simple.
Yeah.
I mean, if like I said before, we already have enough industrial space. If industry is booming right now,
then that would all be taken up.
it would all be taken up. Yeah, like other regions in southwestern Ontario, like Woodstock and Brantford, their vacancy rate's around 2%.
Yeah.
So you can see for them, like, yeah, okay, we have a case here. We need to increase our industrial space to make sure there's enough for incoming businesses. But when you're sitting at 7.5%, even like within 2.5 kilometers of the Huron Natural Area, like the subject lands we're talking about, it's like 800,000 square feet of just vacant, empty industrial space. And you just want to add more hundreds of thousands of space on top of that. Like, who's asking for that? Does that benefit the existing owners or the existing developers who are already struggling to fill that space? Like, who wins here?
Are these just speculators hoping that they've bought the land, hoping that it will turn them a tidy profit?
I don't think so, because they have this whole, they have the proposed development plan, right? So they spent, invested quite a bit to make this proposal with the environmental impact study and the associated studies, hydrology and all kinds of environmental research that went into seeing if this is a good site to develop on. So I don't think it's just a speculative play. That's why it's going to council, is we want to develop here and here's our plan.
Okay. And you think they've got customers lined up?
I don't want to comment on that. That's a question for them, but I'd be really interested about what, from their perspective, what the appetite is to, because even in that area, like, just to, like, one thing, like, if for anyone listening and driving, just to pay attention to signs on the road that say, like, for lease, for sale, industrial land. Before I got involved in this project, I was blind to those. I mean, I didn't care. I didn't look. I'm not in the market for industrial space. But when you start looking for them and you're passing by lots and you're driving on roads and things like that, there's so many signs.
Sometimes little signs, sometimes really large signs.
Sometimes really, to get in your face. And when you start noticing them and counting them and seeing, like, a pattern here, like, that's a lot of industrial space that people really want to lease and rent.
Yeah. So you weren't always looking out for the Huron Natural Area. This is something fairly recent for you.
I suppose it is, yeah. Like I mentioned, I first got involved with the Bean Drive extension and got involved with a community group in my neighborhood about that. And through one of my contacts in that group, Yvonne Fernandez, former city councillor for the city of Kitchener, she introduced me to Chantal, who is the leader of this group. And I learned more about the topic. And what really sparked my interest was when I was going through the environmental impact study and seeing some of those inconsistencies, I would call them, about only counting depredated nests and totally ignoring the undisturbed nests, for example, and using that as a development case. Like, that's not right, right? The way I interpret that, it's like, if you just ignore what's healthy and just pave over it anyways, like, that got my interest from a research and analytics perspective.
When you're looking at one of these environmental assessment reports, how accessible is that to a layperson?
very inaccessible. It's
Inaccessible.
well-
Not at all, you say.
well, I would say it's very accessible online. You can find it online,
Yes.
and you can click the link, and it'll open up a 500 something page document that is technical, and it's boring, and it's full of technical drawings and jargon. No, I spent a good many hours trying to learn how it all works, kind of from scratch here, just about what is a message, what is a narrative that they're trying to convey here, and just looking for, like, does this make sense? Because I think, in my heart of hearts, it doesn't add up, and just going through the environmental impact study and seeing where the gaps are, the inconsistencies are, there's a lot there, and I'm by no means like an expert in dissecting an environmental impact study. I'm just curious, and I just dig, and there's always something there to find.
Yeah. So this is not your area of expertise then? At least it wasn't until you opened up that document.
I suppose, yeah. First started with bean drive extension and covering some of the inconsistencies there, and I'm just getting better with it. My background is more in business and in analytics, so there is a lot of crossover there where you like reading a case study, for example, and you're dissecting it and trying to find out what makes sense here. Like, this doesn't add up. Why doesn't this add up? And just being really analytical with the data presented and seeing how the data is being, I don't want to use the wrong word here, bent in a way to...
there's a bias to the presentation.
Potentially, right? I mean, you understand why the environmental impact assessment, the study, would have a pro-development bend to it if it's being, authored by consultants who are being paid by the developer to produce it.
Was that the case here?
Yeah, it is, and I think that's typically the case.
Okay.
Right. So I don't want to choose my words carefully here. I mean, it's just like you can't just take it at face value like an environmental impact study.
Yeah.
A lot of the inconsistencies that I found happen to be pro-development. Right. So I don't want to make any accusations here. It's just the way it worked out.
Right. Does it happen that a group like the Huron Preserve the Natural Area, protect the land surrounding the Huron Natural Area, would a group like that commission its own environmental assessment report?
That's terribly expensive. We could not do that. No. That would be nice to have. And at this point, if you've ever driven by there in the past year or two, it's all fenced off. It's no trespassing, private property. Get off.
I guess it is private property.
It is.
The developer owns it. Yes.
It is, and actually, there used to be a nice trail, a nice path from Strasbourg that connected right to the Huron Natural Area. That's all blocked off now, and I think that's how a lot of residents knew that, hey, something's wrong here. Something's different. I can't access my trail, the Huron Natural Area anymore. It was actually directly across the street from Huron Heights. Right, so high school students used to have the option of going into the Huron Natural Area after school or whenever, and that's all shut off. Like, the only way to go now is probably a 20-minute walk around the fenced area. Again, it's a big, massive area. It's 40 acres. So massive detour to get into the natural area now.
Yeah. So the environmental assessment report is complete, and it's been thoroughly researched and studied by the councillors making the decision.
I don't know. I'm going to be delegating on Monday about it and raising some of these inconsistencies, and I believe the councillors are supposed to have read it in advance, I think is the expectation. But if not, then I will point them towards certain areas and sections of the environmental impact study that they should really focus on. Yeah.
I have some sympathy for the councillors.
Oh, yeah.
It's a job that doesn't pay particularly well, and there is a lot of work that is involved in these regulations. And
absolutely. Yeah, and like I said, it's like over 500 pages, right? Like, which crazy person other than me is going to pour through that?
Hopefully the people that are making the decision on how the land gets used
Right.
will have done so.
Right. And the purpose of my delegation is just to kind of point them in the right direction. Don't start from page 1 and go down to page 500 something. These are the pages you got to look at. These are the points you got to focus on. And this is how you need to make a decision based on the best available information.
Right. And so amongst those points that
Mm-hmm.
that you've found are the turtle nests that weren't discovered because they weren't looked for.
Yep.
Anything else in that report that you would be highlighting?
Yeah. So there's that for sure. There's I mentioned the grasshopper sparrow, where they simultaneously say that the habitat for the grasshopper sparrow, it's not sustainable because trees are going to grow and crowd them out. But at the same time, there's no topsoil area, so trees cannot grow there, which is why it's not revegetating properly. So they're trying to make both points at the same time, but it can't be both. Either the trees are going to grow and crowd them out and revegetate and be a healthy forest, or it's not, and it's good habitat for the grasshopper sparrow. You got to pick a lane.
And if the forest does regenerate,
Yeah.
then it'll be a habitat for all sorts of other
Absolutely.
wildlife that will
Yeah.
thrive there.
Exactly.
Not necessarily the grasshopper sparrow. but-
Exactly. That's a very good point, right? So they're kind of straddling both points, but you can't simultaneously say both things, right? Another point is the authors, they actually wrote the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry for the purpose of making a case against something called wetland complexing. And that wetland complexing is kind of a fancy way of saying like expanding or expanding the borders of the wetland. So as I mentioned, this proposed development site is directly abutting, directly adjacent to the Huron Natural Area.
Is that a 20-meter gap or something like that?
20 meter, very good. 20-meter gap of just like a bit of a land bridge between the provincially significant wetland in the Huron Natural Area, which is, everyone knows that is provincially significant, it's protected wetland. But then just 20 meters to the east of that, there is another wetland. And this is maybe a point I didn't mention yet, is on the subject lands, there's actually 4 wetlands.
Oh.
Albeit they are what they called anthropogenic or human-made wetlands. That was from that development back in 1989, where they started digging up the ground, and then they left it, and wetlands formed there.
Right.
But the authors of the report actually contacted the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, saying, "Hey, don't bother looking at complexing this wetland for 2 main reasons. Number one, there's no locally or provincially significant species, no regionally or provincially significant species in these wetlands. And the second reason why is that these are not ecological corridors. These are not movement link pathways for the wildlife here. The problem is that the field research, a different firm altogether that actually were in the field, in the muck, and with their clipboards and doing the research, they contradicted both of those points heavily. There's actually 20 species of birds there that are regionally or provincially significant that they saw on the subject lands. 3 of them had probable evidence of breeding, right? So nesting there, right? To the point about the movement corridors, the surveyors, the researchers there said unequivocally in black and white, yes, 2 of these wetlands are a movement corridor for turtles to go from the Huron Natural Area up to a storm water management pond to the north of there. And if you look on the map, it's to me it's clear as day, right? To get from this wetland to that wetland over there, you need to go through these 2 small wetlands of the subject property, and that was, like I said, just plain black and white. But what the authors reported to the ministry was contrary to that claim, and as a result, the ministry ruled that we're not going to complex these wetlands because they don't meet the criteria.
Criteria seems somewhat arbitrary.
Well, it is a little bit. I mean, defining a wetland, what are the borders of a wetland? It's a messy kind of thing. There's a whole manual called the OWES, Ontario Wetland Evaluation System. It's hundreds of pages about how to define what is a wetland, what isn't a wetland.
Which sounds like prerequisite reading before going to one of these environmental assessment reports.
I suppose, yeah. And I mean, the authors of the report, I think they saw there was a potential there for complexing, and they just kind of headed that off at the pass by contacting the ministry and saying, hey, don't bother looking at complexing this because it's not a movement corridor and there's no provincially regionally significant species, but that's not what the underlying data says.
Right. This development, is
Hmm.
this something that had the provincial hand in it?
I don't know. That is a good question. I haven't seen evidence of that, but I think we all know in Ontario there is a heavy push for development from the provincial level.
Right.
A lot of that we hear is on the residential side and building homes.
A lot of greenfield development
Yeah.
has been mandated by the province.
Yes.
Even though the region of Waterloo and the accompanying cities and municipalities all had very good plans for development.
Yeah.
They were roughshod, ridden over
Mm.
by the provincial government. So I'm wondering if this is part of that.
That's a fair question. I don't have the answer.
Okay.
But you're right to ask that question.
I'm likening it to the Wilmot
Oh.
land assembly that was definitely instigated at the provincial level and
Yeah.
apparently happily absorbed by the regional government here as well.
Yeah, that's a really interesting case, the Wilmot situation. I can't draw a straight line between what we're dealing with in Huron Natural Area and Wilmot, but you can see patterns about a real heavy push for development and where is it coming from.
Right.
Mm.
So possibly the province remains to be seen
Yeah.
how that comes. How would we find that out? Do you have any idea on the paper trail for that?
I do not. No, that's beyond my very shallow expertise, I would say. But that is a very good question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get our journalism department in on that
Yeah.
and see if we can find out some more information about that.
Yeah.
The difficulties that you've been telling us about are all dealing with the development itself, the disruption to the lands adjacent to the Huron Natural Area. But once the development has been built and there's industrial happenings in that land, what's the effect on the Huron Natural Area?
Yeah, so the two things that pop to mind immediately are noise and light, right? You have that's directly adjacent to the wetland there. And the proposed development talks about like a buffer, a 15 or 20 or 30 meter buffer, something like that, where they'll have like a natural space there where that buffer is just going to block light and noise, question mark,
Okay.
right? But
Is this like a buffer with a structure there
no,
too?
a fence. I think there might be like an enclosure fence, I meant to call it, and like just natural like shrubs, trees, that kind of
Okay.
thing is, I think, the plan. But I don't know the exact details. But one thing that I've heard from people that live near the Huron Natural Area and go there frequently is that the amount of noise pollution has increased year over year as development starts to surround the area, and now it's noticeable. Like I've heard that there is like a constant industrial hum in the background, and that really, I guess, degrades the experience of being in a natural area when you're hearing some like high pitched hum or some kind of noise that
Even
doesn't
the
belong.
Worse, the low rumble. That
Something like that, yeah.
Affects you on the insides.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. Yeah.
What I was worried about was industrial runoff that might affect the wetland.
Yeah. I guess, runoff can mean a number of different things. One thing that I was looking at as well was salts, right? Because you're getting rid of like permeable land that absorbs water and things like that. You're replacing it with like asphalt parking spaces, and that needs winter maintenance. And how do we maintain parking lots and that's going to be new roads as well? How do we maintain them? It's with salt. You plow and you salt. And when you salt directly adjacent to a wetland, there's wildlife there that is sensitive to salt, right? If you look at the sodium levels in our drinking water across all the region of Waterloo, almost all of them are reporting increasingly higher sodium levels throughout the whole region. And why should we be surprised? I mean, our magic bullet for dealing with ice in the city is salted away kind of thing.
I've heard that Waterloo region is one of the highest areas with salt concentrations in all of Ontario.
I believe it. And just looking historically back into the 90s up to present, you could see that slow creep up year after year of how high the sodium is getting. And I think a question I was asking is like, what is the region of Waterloo doing about this? Like, how are they enforcing this? Like, what are they doing to make sure companies don't overuse salt, for example? And I was disappointed with what I found is that like this is not like it's not enforced, it's not policed. There's my understanding there's no fines about it. It's just guidelines. They frame it as like education and guidelines. Here's a pamphlet about how you can best salt your parking lots and things like that.
Okay.
But there's no one watching, to be honest. So what's the incentive to be responsible with how you're salting your parking lots and your roads?
Right. And I guess there's always that specter of culpability for negligence. You know, if you haven't salted sufficiently, then somebody could sue you for...
That's a bigger risk.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. So no one wants to be on the receiving end of that. But so between the two options of being found accountable for not salting enough versus never being held accountable for salting too much, you want to err on the side of caution there for sure. Yeah.
What about disturbing the soil at the development site? Silt runoff, things like that, affecting the wetlands. I mean, the wetlands are particularly sensitive to all kinds of stuff like that.
They are incredibly sensitive, right? So I don't have information on like silt runoff and erosion and things like that. I can't comment on that,
Okay.
but there is some work in that environmental impact assessment about that, but I haven't dug into those now.
Okay. I think I'm going to take another break.
Sure.
This is Courtney Wolf, a new song by Courtney called Wild Card, which I think is just being released as a single. One of these days we really have to get Courtney Wolf into the studio as well. This is Wild Card.
I can see you walk over to me. I can hear you laughing in the distance. What are you about to say, darling? Just kidding, I think I can predict it. We've had so much fun, you should have a taste. While you're still so young and I'm still the same. Oh, how you talk to me when we are all alone. We've got some chemistry until I'm all alone. No, you can't talk to me, 'cause I go too damn far. You pull me in too deep, and I'm a wild card. And I'm a wild card. I can see you lighting up the crowd. I can feel you becoming addicted. How am I supposed to stop now? I feel like I'm only getting started. When you say hello and I love the sound, I can't say no, but I have to now. Oh, how you talk to me when we are all alone. We've got some chemistry until I'm all alone. No, you can't talk to me, 'cause I go too damn far. You pull me in too deep, and I'm a wild card. And I'm a wild card. I hate that I love how you make me feel. You take and you run and it's never real. I hate who I become, can we make a deal? We break what we've done and I heal. Oh, how you talk to me when we are all alone. We've got some chemistry until I'm all alone. No, you can't talk to me, 'cause I go too damn far. You pull me in too deep, and I'm a wild card. I'm a wild card. And I'm a wild card. I'm a wild card.
Courtney Wolf, called Wildcard. New release, just out in the last few months or so. Last few weeks, actually. Have Ray Angod in the studio with me.
Hey, Bob.
Ray, welcome to CKMS Community Connections. We've been talking about the Huron Natural Area and the lands surrounding it that are slated for development. And you've got some plans on preventing that from happening.
That's the goal, yep. As I mentioned, so we'll be delegating to the Strategic Planning Committee this coming Monday. Anyone who's interested in delegating, you can just go online, City of Kitchener delegation, and click to register. So we have a number of delegations happening on Monday. And if that gets pushed to City Council vote on November 10th, then we'll be doing some additional delegations based on how things go this coming Monday.
Yeah. So it says here to register to be a delegation, you have to do it before noon of the Wednesday before the council meeting, or 2 Thursdays before the meeting of the standing committees. So possibly it may be too late to register for a
I think if you
now.
contact them now, you could. It doesn't hurt to ask. The person that schedules these, they're a little bit flexible.
Probably the city clerk.
Yeah, right. So it's worth even asking. I think if you get it in by today, it might be possible. As long as you're not doing like a PowerPoint presentation. If you're doing a PowerPoint presentation, then I think the deadline is passed.
Speaking for 5 minutes is probably still.
I hope so. I mean, hopefully they're flexible enough with that. Yeah.
So find that out.
Yes.
Go to the kitchener.ca website right now and just put delegation in the search box there, and you'll get right to the page that lets you register to do so. We've got some other online sites as well. The change.org is probably the most prominent one.
Absolutely, yes.
We've got Stop the Development Surrounding the Huron Natural Area in Kitchener, with dashes between all the words.
Thank you.
On change.org.
Yeah.
3,920 signatures on the petition right now.
Yes.
It'll be 3,921 as soon as the show is over, because I intend to put my name in there as well.
Well, thank you, Bob. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. With a nice map showing you the areas that are going to be affected, the areas where the development is slated, and of course a good explanation of what all the issues are. Not that Ray hasn't done a wonderful job on the air already.
Thank you.
And then you've got some other social media sites as well. There's Instagram, where I see Protect HNA on Instagram, full of good information and some nice pictures of the wildlife that are being affected. And there's a Facebook page as well, which is facebook.com/p/protect the land surrounding Huron Natural Area, and a long number that I'm not going to read out,
Right.
but you'll be able to find that by searching on Facebook.
Yes.
And you said something about a link tree.
Oh yeah, on the change.org petition at the bottom there's something called a link tree, which is links to all kinds of resources related to this topic. Recently we added an article that I wrote on a publication called Citified by Melissa Bowman,
Yes.
who's she's wonderful. I got to meet her in person, and we had a good talk, and she invited me to write a guest article on Citified. There's a link there as well. Not too long of a read, and just cover some of the main points about the story so far.
Okay. Would that be the article that's called? No, that's Kitchener City News. I'll let our listeners explore the link tree itself. The link tree is available at linktr.ee/protect HNA. And I'll have a link to that in the show notes on radiowaterloo.ca/ccc.
Thank you.
Welcome. So, you're delegating on Monday,
Correct.
and then possibly delegating again to City Council on the 10th of November, you said?
10th. Yeah, that's right.
What happens after that?
Depends which way they go with it. So the plan for this coming Monday is to raise enough doubts in the councillor's mind, like, is this really a good idea? Is this going to be wildly unpopular with our constituents? Who's really asking for this? Plant the seed of doubt there, because I think there are a number of reasons why they should second guess this. If it goes to City Council, the same idea, where we outline our main points and just try to make it a really unpalatable thing for a councillor to vote for. This is not something their constituents are asking for. This is not going to benefit the economy. It's not going to benefit the environment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. To make it just really to vote for this, it would be a very difficult proposition for councillors. That's kind of what we want to do with this, to give them enough evidence, and hopefully they look at that evidence and say, yeah, this really doesn't make a lot of sense. This is not benefiting the city. It's not benefiting my particular ward, and I don't know how I can logically side with this. That's kind of the goal for those meetings.
Worthwhile reminding them of the municipal election coming up next year.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. That's right. Yeah. So I think that has to be part of their calculus as well about which way to swing on this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How much support have you seen from the community?
Tons. And it's what I really like. I mean, we have a group of more than a dozen like active people who we email, we talk, we meet in person to plan these delegations. And what really strikes me is like we're really from all walks of life. You know, we're from all over the city. You know, we're young, we're old, we're from all different professional backgrounds, blue collar, white collar, you know, even left, right. It doesn't really matter. Like everyone can appreciate the Huron Natural Area for what it is and the benefits that it gives each and every one of us. And it's to me, that's one of my main takeaways is, wow, this place is really special to a lot of people for different reasons. This is not just one small segment of the community that's interested. Like this impacts everybody.
Yeah. And everybody can help out?
Yeah.
Is there a contact email address or some other way that people can let you know their feelings?
Probably the best way is through the petition itself. And there's,
okay.
You could leave a comment. Some have actually left photos and videos of what it means to them. We're going to be pulling some of those key comments into one of our delegations to show councillors, like, you know, 3,900 is not just a number. Like each one of these people that took the time to sign this petition, they have their own story, and we want to share some of the stories with council.
Ray Angod, who's representing the Protect the Land Surrounding Huron Natural Area. Thanks so much for coming in and talking to us, telling us all the important stuff about, you know, the ecology surrounding the Huron Natural Area. Lots of stuff I didn't know before.
Well, thank you, Bob. Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure.
You're very welcome. You've been listening to CKMS Community Connections on CKMS FM 102.7 Radio Waterloo. My name is Bob Jonkman. Today's episode was originally aired on Friday, October the 24th. CKMS Community Connections is produced by Radio Waterloo, sponsored by Radio Waterloo. Executive producer is Jennifer Strong. The theme music you're hearing in the background is written and performed by Stephen Todd. CKMS Community Connections airs every Monday at 11 o'clock, alternate Fridays at 3. I'll be back then.